Mike's on Mike, a conversation about politics, government, and Jacksonville, with 50-year opinion leaders Mike Hightower, Mike Tolbert, and award-winning broadcaster and longtime political observer, Mike Miller.
Welcome to another episode of Mike's on Mike. I'm Mike Miller here in studio, and at their remote locations are Mike Hightower and Mike Tolbert, and we're delighted to have you with us today. By the way, of course, Mike's on Mike brought to you by the Jacksonville History Center, where Dr. Alan Bliss and his fine staff do a great job in keeping the lights on and the cameras rolling, and to our fine donors who keep us on the air. We appreciate your generosity very, very much. Today, we're going to get into some trash. This is really trash talk today, and discuss the proposal that's on the table to raise Jacksonville's garbage fee for the first time since 2010. Our guest, City Councilman Matt Carlucci, who's introduced a proposal to finally raise the fee, and we want to know why it's needed and if he anticipates this very conservative city council of ours will support a fee hike. Mike Tolbert, get us started.
Yeah, Matt, welcome back to Mike's on Mike. It's good to see you again. You know, this garbage fee was first imposed during the Missouri administration, I guess back in the early 80s. And
yes,
as Miller said,
I was there.
You were there. That's right. It's been the same $12.65 a month since 2010. I have three questions for you. Why has every mayor and council since 2010 dodged raising the fee? Without an adequate fee to pay costs of the collection, how is the city paying for the shortfall? And thirdly, how would your legislation fix the problem?
Well, we got here because nobody wants to raise the fee, and that's been going on for 15 years. So what has happened is our general fund, which is made up of ad valorem taxes, property taxes, and other taxes that go to the general fund, that is subsidizing the fee. The fee is actually about $30.40 if we want to be paying the actual cost of service, but we're only collecting $12.10. So the general fund has to subsidize the balance, the difference. But when we subsidize that money has to go in the form of a loan because of a legal contract we have with the beaches because they all pay their fees and they don't want to be paying our fee as well. And so we have to, so it comes in as an internal loan. There's no interest on it, but it's an internal loan. By the end of this year, the loan will be up to $100 million.
Wow.
The
And
balance.
Year 3031, it'll be $500 million.
You're talking about some money there.
500, $500 million. And so the city, with whatever we take out of the general fund to subsidize this, it has to be form of a loan, and that money can't be touched. It has to stay out of any active part of services and so forth. So my proposal is to raise the fee up to what it actually should be. And if we do that, that will put $40 million more back into the solid waste fund and begin to stabilize that. It will also free up a lot of the money we've been borrowing to be used for the general services like public safety, streets, parks, and so forth. But right now, this is a $40 million vote is what it is. And if we dilly-dally around on this, then next year, after this year, this fiscal year, $100 million, then it'll go up to about $140, $150 million. I mean, it's pension-esque, if you know what I'm saying, on a smaller scale, but the compounding effect is incredible.
Yeah, Matt, you just made a profound statement when you said that it's been for 15 years and we have not they kicked it down the street. On that point, then, from your perspective, your legislation, getting an increase to the city council would appear on the surface to kind of be an uphill battle. Would that be an overstatement? Can you explain the process for your bill? When will it be introduced, and when will there be a vote?
Okay, let me go back in history just for a little background. I tried to change this. I tried to do this back in 2020 when I chaired finance. and I lost 16-3. Okay, but the loan was about $13 million at that time, and I don't think the council knew just exactly what was going to happen, but I did. But a lot of council members didn't, so it didn't pass. So this is like fourth down on the 5-yard line, and if we get over the goal line, we win. So I have put my very best play together, and that play has been 7 town meetings, talking to any business groups that want to talk about it, answering my mail or my emails. I've written several editorials and one that'll be in the paper this Sunday. To do nothing, something's got to be done. This is not sustainable. Every year we let this go by. That's that much more money that can't be used for general services for the public as a whole, including the beaches and Baldwin. It can't be used for that. But if we pay off, if we increase it to $40 million, then the franchise fee is what will start paying off the loan. And as the loan pays off and the dollars go down, the dollars that are going down, they're going back to the general fund, and they can be used for community services. So my plan. This has been my plan. I'll finish in just a second. I'm doing the editorials. I've gone and spoken with the newspaper. I have had 7 town meetings to try to bring it to the public. I've had several sunshine meetings in city council to anybody that will come and want to learn about it. And I have to tell you, this is starting to pick up some steam. And it's not easy, but I think we can get 10, 11, 12 votes. We're not quite there yet, although I can't call my colleagues and say, how are you going to vote? Because that'd be a violation of the Sunshine Law, something I do try to, I do try to stay in line with that. I won't say I'm perfect, but I try.
Yeah. Well,
that's where we're at.
Just to kind of re-ask that question a little differently, Matt, then I hear about the town meetings, although, I mean, there's 19 of you. When you talk about this at city council, do you get a gut feeling about where they are and how the vote is at this point? That's number one. And number two, when are you going to try to bring it in for a vote?
Well, I have not had any discussions with council members except a few that have come to my sunshine meetings. I think I've had 4 people come. I won't know until we take these bills up in committee. I can't call council members and try to persuade them to vote for it because of the violation of the Sunshine Law. I think what would be of huge help is if council president could sign on as a co-sponsor. If he did that, that would be huge. And I don't know where Council President White is. This I do know about Council President White is he cares about the whole city. He's a fair individual, and he has a good sense of decency about him. So he is strong, and he could make a big difference, but I don't know whether he would do that or not, and that's up to him. But he would make a big, big difference. I'll tell you, one councilman that is a definite yes, I believe, don't know for sure, but is Will Lannon. Now, Will Lannon is probably, he's a CPA. He is brilliant when it comes to math and the budgets and so forth. And he, I've been told, is a solid yes. And he carries weight with some of the other newer council members. And then Ken Amaro, he carries weight. We got some good people supporting this. We just, and I think if people went out and were out at the town meetings that I'm having, and I've invited them, all things that's been done, I think they'd walk away with a little different opinion on this. So this is the time to vote because we don't, it's $100 million, well, it's at least a $40 million mistake, A. And B, if we vote later down the road, it's closer to the next election. And 3, there's no good time to vote for a fee or to raise a fee. Never. Oh, we should do it next year. Well, then next year somebody will have a reason why that's not the right time. We need to put on our uniforms of going to city council and doing our jobs.
Let me ask this. Would it be beneficial for you to be able to get a better feel on where your colleagues are on this, rather than going through the individual committee meetings? Why not do a committee as a whole and get everybody together in the same room, hash it out, get it all under there, and that would give you an idea of whether or not you should take it to the floor for a vote? Because, and I mentioned this to you offline at one point, and that is that people have to realize that if you take a bill and you put it on the floor and if it's defeated, you cannot raise that same issue for a year. Yes, so in order to not gamble that might be the case, the more you can find out ahead of time before there's a floor vote, the better the opportunity is to, number one, find out where everybody is sitting. And number two, if you find you're not going to be successful, you withdraw the bill, you wait, you work on it, you do whatever it is that it takes to get it passed by a majority of your colleagues, and then you can move on.
It may come to that. I don't know. It may come to that.
Is that feasible, though, to do it as a committee as a whole, just to be able to get it done at one time?
I think that's a good idea. I really do, Mike Miller. But it's basically going to be done halfway like a committee as a whole, because the bill has been assigned to every committee except LUZ.
Right.
So it used to be back in my day when it was assigned to every committee, that was called loving it to death. But I don't think that's the case here. I think the council president has placed this bill in front of committees that it's going to affect almost every committee that's taking it up, and I'll be at all 4 meetings, and that'll be next week. Mike Hightower and Mike Talbert. I'll be at every one of those meetings, and I'll be prepared to answer any questions that I can. And that's when I'll start to get a feel for where people are.
In mid-January, Mayor Deegan vetoed a bill to increase the city payment to the private hauler Meridian Waste by 29%. Deegan had proposed 5%, which I believe was the recommendation that came from
the rate committee.
The rate committee, correct. The council overrode that veto by a huge amount. Now the city's general counsel has opined that the council vote to approve the 29% increase violated the charter and is legally invalid. All of this appears to have really ruffled the feathers of several council members. How much is that veto issue going to impact the support for your bill?
I don't think that will impact the veto of my bill. That my bill already includes that extra $4 million that the council gave. I know a little bit about separation of powers, but I'm not the general counsel. So I think where the separation of powers might have come was like with the NFL contract. Well, the council did a few tweaks here and there on the NFL negotiations, but not that much. We added some good things, and we may have changed some good things, but nothing that really changed the term and what the mayor's office had negotiated along with the Jaguars. So that was not a problem. But now, with a Meridian coming along, and the mayor's office has negotiated 5% because of the rate committee, when the council goes up to 24%, that is such a large increase that suddenly it's not really the mayor's bill anymore. It's the council's bill, and the council has been doing the negotiating, and we are not to negotiate these contracts. The mayor is. So I think there is some truth in the charter that when there's a change that big, then, and the mayor gets out legislated and can't carry forth her executive duties of putting these contracts together. That doesn't seem right to me.
Some of your council members, like my good friend Roy Diamond, who, by the way, voted for Lot J and represents the beaches, that's playing paying double right now. So they're being fiscally responsible by opposing your legislation and raising the fee right now. What is your response to that?
Well, my good friend, Councilmember Diamond, feels like contracts should be longer and that maybe we should just pay for the garbage fee like we used to years ago when Jake was mayor. It was all paid for in the general fund. I don't think there's enough money in the general fund to absorb that while we're trying to hire 40 other police officers. I mean, look, that's not going to be cheap. Along with UF, the University of Florida, we got a lot of things to pay for,
And the new jail, which the mayor just came out of.
Yeah, which we'll get to that, but not with a budget, not with a budget like this, and then cutting a $40 million income stream by collapsing the fund. And if we were to do that, then we'd have to go back to an interlocal agreement with the beaches, and I think all three of you Mikes know that when we open up interlocal agreements and we want to talk about one issue, the beaches brings a whole lot of other issues, and it winds up costing the city more than just maybe what we intended to discuss.
Well, listen,
that's not a criticism. That's just the nature of the beast.
Matt, I hear that Brian Hughes is working behind the scenes, talking about we need to take it out of the general fund as opposed to having a garbage fee at all. Is that having any impact?
I think it's had some with people who perhaps are not going to vote for it anyway, and they're going to use that as an excuse that we should do it that way. But John Payton did this garbage fee for several reasons, but one big reason was back when he was mayor, their legislature and the governor, they either did it legislatively or they put it on the ballot that cities had to reduce their millage by at least a mill. So if we were paying for our garbage out of the millage rate, then the legislatures just kind of dilly-dallied a little bit with our services, including garbage pickup. But when you have that in a fee, that cannot be messed with by the legislature or the governor. It is insulated from political shenanigans over in Tallahassee. The other reason a fee is good is it's more transparent, it's more accountable. People can compare what our fee is to maybe other sister communities. And by the way, all beaches pay a garbage fee between $38 and $32, and then even the great town of Baldwin, wonderful town of Baldwin. Don't ever ignore them. They're the sweetest people in the world. It's not a bastion of wealth, but good people. And they pay, I think, $24 or $26 a month because I've called all these mayors. And then the big brother, we're paying $12.10. We really don't know what the actual cost of the garbage fee is unless the auditors go to work on it and like they have now. But when it's on your ad valorem tax and you know exactly what the cost is, you can keep track of it. It's accountable, it's transparent. And then if there's a change that the public thinks needs to be done, they can take that to the council and try to get, a change through bidding it out and so forth. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Well, kind of going back on the fee, Matt. Has Mayor Deegan taken a position on raising the fee? And if not, why hadn't she? And do you think the mayor is going to support hurt or help your efforts in all this?
Well, I am very careful to speak for the mayor, but I don't think she'll do anything to hurt this. I frankly told her I was going to introduce this, and I think it would be best perhaps for her not to get in the middle of it and let me carry the water on it. And that was my best advice to her. I think it's better for one quarterback to try to get this ball over the end zone than having two. Now, if the mayor decided to come out and support it, that would be a great help. But I tell you who could make the biggest difference here is our council president, if the council president would go on and co-sponsor it. And I'm not trying to put our president, Randy White, on the spot. I would never do that. He's too good a man. But reality is reality, and that would be a huge help. Will Lannon being a supporter is a huge help with some of the newer council members. Ken Amaro is a big support. I think we got a chance. And again, I tell people, this is not just a vote on a fee. This is a $40 million decision. Because if we don't do anything, we've lost $40 million bucks.
Let me bring, I brought up a hypothetical earlier. Let me bring up another one since I'm on a roll with this thing. All of the beach communities in Baldwin pay a higher trash fee than we do, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So why don't we negotiate with them and say we want to take over your garbage? And then we'll roll you into our Meridian contract or whatever contract that we have. Your fees are going to be less if you're paying the same amount as what people in Duval County are paying or Jacksonville are paying. And then that at the same time would take away that argument of saying, why should we be paying a higher fee because we're not using the service?
Okay. Well, let me say this about that.
Okay.
I think right now we have to fix the fee we have. I don't think this is time to start changing it to a sliding scale or to the amount of trash people put on the curb.
No, I agree.
Or dealing with the beaches and all that. We got to fix what is broken now, because as time goes by, it's millions of dollars adding to the debt. Now, if we pass it and we get our handles and our arms around the cost, then if we want to look at different ways to handle the fee, look, I'm all for that. And I've often said, but we have to fix this. And if we've got to fix what we have. We can't go do other things unless we fix what we have. And look, if anybody's got a better mousetrap than I do, I'm open to looking at it. But I think I believe in this because I've worked with the Office of General Counsel and I've worked with our trusted council auditors. And I've read a lot on this type of garbage fee. I've talked to other cities why they do it. I've talked to John Payton, our former mayor, on why he put it in the fee. And to me, this is the best way to solve our problem. And by the way, I've introduced a companion bill because the fee would go up. I get that. The fee would go up. But I've got a safety net bill in companion that says people that are 150% or less of the federal poverty level can apply to see if they're eligible to not have to pay the fee.
At all?
At all. And some people feel like, some people disagree with that philosophically, but as an at-large council member, I know every nook and cranny of the city of Jacksonville. And I've been in them and out of them. And I know, as an at-large council member, if I raise the fee, I know there's people that need help because I've been in their neighborhoods, I've been in their living rooms, I've knocked on their doors, and so forth. So I can't raise it without having a safety net. So it's a complete package, and I think it's a great package.
Okay. One thing that, and I know this from the area where I'm living, a good number of those people who are at the 150% level and lower are living in multi-family units. They're in apartments for the most part. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that your companion bill would not help them out because it's their landlord that is paying the garbage fee and not the residents are paying for it through their rent, but they're not paying a direct cost.
Yeah. I believe you are correct. The only people that would see a change are those who are already getting that annual residential a tax notice, because the garbage fee and the storm water fee, by the way, storm water fee also has a safety net like mine. I'm kind of modeling mine after storm water safety net. But only those people who are getting that residential notice of what they owe in property taxes, mostly single family, they're the only ones that will I mean, that's a lot, but it's not going to include apartments, condos, and all that kind of stuff. It's just single-family homes, maybe some duplexes, but that's about it.
Okay.
What if you can't get the votes? What if the bill fails? What happens next?
Well, if I can't get if the vote fails, then it would be a year before it could be brought up. So I would have to make some type of decision on whether to take it to a vote that I know can't pass, or defer it until perhaps I could get more support, more votes until I get my 10 votes. I could withdraw it. But I got to tell you, after everything I have done to work on this, all the town meetings, all of the phone calls, all of the emails, and then just to withdraw it,
It would hurt. It would hurt.
It would not be good.
Yeah,
now, if the bill had been introduced first by Randy White, I would let him be the introducer. I'll go around and carry the water for him. I have no problem with that. It's not a pride thing, but I'd be a liar if I said I feel like I got something at stake here because of the amount of work I've put into it, and so I'll have to see what happens as we get down the line. I would look at deferral first, and last resort would be a withdrawal, because I don't want this to have to wait a year, because if it does, that's $100 million mistake.
Yeah.
Before we close this, I'd like to hear what y'all have to say.
Our job is to ask you the questions.
I think you already know my position. I'm in favor of exploring the idea of doing a committee as a whole and counting noses before it goes to the floor. And if you don't have the noses, defer the bill or withdraw the bill or do something like that.
But I can't control the committee as a whole. That would have to be council presidents.
But,
I understand.
But Matt, to follow up there on that, and again, you're closer to it than any of us, but by having a committee of the whole, you know your colleagues. Wouldn't you get a pretty good gut feeling from that of where you would be? I mean, you've said, and I get that you've got a lot of emotion in there, and Lord knows as you do care about the community, and I mean that sincerely. But I mean, it's a little bit like fog at this point, and I think I sense a frustration in what you're talking about. But wouldn't that sort of give you a better idea of where you are, and then for you to make a strategic decision down the road? That's an observation.
I think it could, and if the council president wanted to do that, I would not object. I'm taking this everywhere and anywhere and talking about it under any circumstances that people want me to.
Now, you're not allowed to poll your colleagues to find out where they stand.
No, I can't do that.
But Scott Wilson can.
Scott Wilson can, but I don't know. I mean, I've told the mayor, let me carry the water on this. I'm not sure how much they're going to get involved. I do think they would find it a great help if it were to pass, just as Mayor Payton did back when he took it. But let's face it, guys, it takes, we got a great council. We got great leadership. We all just have to have the political will to make it happen, because once we put this behind us, we're still a good ways off to elections, and we would have infused $40 million in our budget that's already going to have a shortfall, and we will propel our city into having a garbage fee that reflects the 21st or 22nd century, whichever one we're in.
Okay. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you, Matt, very much. Best of luck to you on this. We'll continue following it with you, as you know. Next week, former TU and USA Today columnist Nate Monroe is going to be joining us. Nate's taken over as the executive editor for The Tributary. And, of course, we've had their previous editor on the program many, many times, Andrew Pantazzi. So we've asked Nate to come on to find out from him, where does he see The Tributary going in the future? What areas are they going to be covering? And who knows, would they get involved in something as local as the garbage tax? in one of their columns. We'll find out from Nate next week, and he'll be joining us. Thank you all for joining us this week. Once again, our thanks to the Jacksonville History Center for sponsoring our program, and we appreciate it very much. We'll all see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Mike's on Mike with Mike Tolbert, Mike Hightower, and Mike Miller can be found on your favorite podcasting platform, Facebook, and YouTube. Visit the website at mikesonmike.com. Join us next time for more conversation with Mike's on Mike.